Hey everyone, I know it's been a while, but I am back. We'll be covering the second part of the Monster Association arc out of the 3 parts I am splitting it up into. So now, let's get right into it. We begin the chapter with an explanation of hero rankings and the history of how the S-Class came to be, with many people saying that it's almost impossible to become an S-Class hero because the S-Class are insanely powerful. But we immediately are shown a majority of the S-Class losing the fights they are in. But the Hero Association still has hope, since they still have Tatsumaki, and they see her as the ultimate weapon, basically. She finds out the Psychos she was fighting was just a meat puppet, and we see some of Psychos' inner dialogue talking about how she's going to hide and gather the rest of the monsters to kill Tatsumaki. But we end the chapter with Tatsumaki saying that she found her. We go over to Darkshine, who has found Garou, and begins their fight. And Garou is doing pretty well until Darkshine gets serious and tackles him, destroying his ribcage. Darkshine explains that he fought Bang before and he lost, so he can tell Garou is far from perfect martial arts wise. As Garou gets back up, he exclaims that he's not going to lose to a society that just blindly supports heroes. We cut to Bang, Bomb, Genos, and Fubuki getting ambushed by Rover, who is seemingly not taking any damage, even from Bang's and Bomb's combination moves. But Bang sarcastically tells him to sit and he listens. We go back to Darkshine guarding, but still getting buffeted by blows from Garou. He starts to think he might actually lose, so we go into a narrator telling us that Garou has learned countless martial arts styles by this point and has been fusing them all together, along with his continuous fights he's been in the last few days, has made it seem that his limiter is breaking. King has somehow found himself alone and, as luck would have it, found Torio. Tatsumaki, finding the real Psychos, begins to drag her up from the deep underground, along with the entire Monster Association base. After pulling up the whole thing, all the executives make their way out of the rubble, getting ready to face off against her. Puri decides to go help any of the heroes that might be trapped under the rubble. Genos bursts out of the rubble him and his team were under, and once he sees the surface, he can't believe the monsters he is seeing. Tatsumaki, though, doesn't seem to have any trouble battling them, until Psycho sneaks up on her, throwing her off, and allowing the other monsters to start beating on her pretty badly. Genos tries to intervene once he sees this, but quickly gets both his arms torn off by the others. He is still willing to fight, so Ugly transforms and gets ready to fight him. But Bang then enters the battle and gets serious for the first time in the series. And as soon as he begins, he immediately kills Ugly and Gums while dodging light beams from Homeless Emperor. But Psychos holds him down, allowing Homeless to rain light bombs on him, probably taking him out of the fight. We then see a lot of text, which was Child Emperor recording the incidents that have happened during the raid so far. And luckily, Puri finds him and can get him back to the surface. Genos has no limbs now and is near death when none other than King makes his appearance and makes all the monsters go on edge, forcing them to work together to fight him. They get ready, but King tells Homeless to watch out for his feet are on unstable rocks. And this actually starts to psych him out, making him overthink the situation. This is honestly one of the funniest parts of the webcomic for me. Fubuki arrives and reveals that she knew Psychos in the past, so they go off to fight one-on-one, while Zombie Man springs up from out of the ground, subduing Homeless. Black Sperm starts to notice the team is falling apart and he can't rely on evil natural water since it doesn't sense any hostility coming from King. He decides it has to be him who takes down King and tells him his total cell count, which is 11,449,1,712,554. Puri then bursts out of the rubble with Child Emperor and Atomic, along with Pig God coming out too, showing he saved Atomic's disciples, and lastly Sweet Mask comes out as well. He starts to fight Black Sperm, but then loses his arm to Evil Natural Water's water jet, and somehow immediately reattaches it, saying he can do that because it was a clean cut, and he just continues to fight looking like he is starting to transform. Saitama and Flashy are stuck underground, with Saitama helping him to get his blade out of the rubble without breaking it. Puri then finds Darkshine, and we get his backstory. He was a scrawny kid as he was growing up, but then one day he got some weights and started training. He kept training and training until he eventually just became an S-Class hero. He thought what he wanted was a fight he could go all out on, but what he really wanted was a fight he could feel good about. And in his fight against Garou, he could tell he might lose, and that fear kept growing until he was unable to fight anymore. Darkshine has basically given up, but Puri gives him a speech to him that this was not what he trained his muscles for, so he must get up and out there to protect others. We see what has happened to Garou, which he seems to be on the brink of death, reflecting on all he has done up to this point, wondering if he's actually going to die here. We come over to Fubuki and Psychos' fight, where she has now learned a way to basically divert and nullify others' psychic energy, making her able to fight on the same level as Psychos. We get a flashback of Psychos attempting to look into the future, and she sees something that makes her believe they have to eradicate humanity. Fubuki ends up defeating her, wondering what she saw to make her become who she is now. And as soon as she's finished with the battle, Garou appears, proclaiming himself to be disaster level god. She tries to attack him, but he just brushes it off and asks her, what does she see? My mask is still getting pressured by the monsters, while Child Emperor explains how they will defeat evil natural water, basically saying they need to whittle it down until it's just its core is left, and once it's at that stage, King can use his ultimate move to wipe it out. Which King is like,
wait a minute!
Flash finally gets his sword unstuck, and Saitama thought he was talking about his arm this whole time, so conks him in his head and accidentally breaks his sword. Child Emperor's plan failed, with them just getting dominated until Tatsumaki enters back into the fray, getting rid of evil natural water and forcing black sperm to merge into each other, making a version of himself out of 1 trillion of his cells. But Tatsumaki easily deals with it. He then takes a hostage in Tario so he can stall the heroes until his 10 trillion cell merge can be completed. While that is happening, Zombie Man starts to question Homeless about God. But as soon as he's about to talk about God, God appears in front of him, saying that he will now take his power back, and kills him, leaving Zombie Man questioning what just happened. Black Sperm's merge is finally completed, and probably one of the coolest panels in the webcomic appears, being the let me pass through for a sec, which made me get extremely hyped when I first was reading this. Then King uses his ultimate move, making us believe for a second that it actually worked, but it is revealed that it was all just in his head. Which was another great comedy bit from King. And then my man Garou arrives, proceeding to cave Golden Sperm's face in. Destroys all but one regular black sperm, and Golden acknowledges that Garou has become the monster he always wanted to be, telling him he is now going to take him seriously. We see a short flurry of blows, but at the end of the chapter, we only see Garou standing in his new monsterized form. So getting into the discussion, the Monster Association really showed how powerful they were. Of course they did have weak links in Ugly and Gums that got one-shotted, but Homeless took Bang and Bomb out of the fight, along with revealing to us, the reader, the first real introduction of God, who I am sure we will see more of later down the line. Evil Natural Water was just styling on everybody because no one could do anything to it. It was just shooting everyone, and the heroes basically resigned themselves to lose until Tatsumaki blew it away. And I did like the detail of that it did not attack King, because it doesn't feel any hostility from him. Saiko's had a decent showing, getting the jump on Tatsumaki and leading the monsters until she got lured away by Fubuki, with the visions she saw probably relating to God in some way, shape, or form, because she came to a similar conclusion of the idea that Homeless Emperor said God wanted. And then finally, my main man, Black Sperm. He was goated in these chunks of chapters. He was dealing with multiple S-Class heroes like Atomic that he utterly dominated, and learning that he has 11 trillion cells, which is over 1,000 times the population of Earth. Then on top of all of that, Golden Sperm was so strong that the other heroes probably couldn't have done anything to him, except Tatsumaki, who was already too fatigued to do anything to him, with him seemingly being the final test for Garou so he can fully transform into a monster. Speaking on Garou, he went through a hell of a lot in his fight with Darkshine, eventually just pummeling him enough where he got so afraid and gave up. And once he was near death, he finally got his wish of becoming a monster, and maybe almost at his true goal. The heroes, on the other hand, were kinda good and kinda bad. Tatsumaki was heavily carrying them this whole time. Whenever she was down, the battle was never going their way. And now by the end of the chapters, since she could not kill Golden, she is not going to be of much use against Garou. Atomic basically did nothing, along with Pig God saving his disciples. But we did get some info on Pig God, that he has some kind of trump card he has been saving. Child Emperor has been trying his best, but he just keeps getting tortured throughout this review since basically none of his plans work. King is good. I have no problems with King, and I am loving all the comedy one is doing with him. Darkshine went from a super confident character to a little bitch because he couldn't handle the possibility he could lose. Fubuki was pulling her weight with fighting Rover and defeating Psychos. And Sweet Mask, now that Ugly is gone, was just tanking a lot of damage, along with revealing he has pretty good regeneration since he just stuck his arm back on, with him starting to look like a monster the harder he gets pushed. Oh, and Puri was doing some good work, rescuing a lot of the heroes from the rubble. And then finally, Saitama and Flashy have just been screwing around since we know Saitama can't get there yet, or he might end things too quickly. So we are finally done with these chunks of chapters. If you want to see more, go check out my playlist for the series. Make sure to like the video if you did enjoy, and subscribe to keep up to date with all my videos. Other than that, I guess I will see you guys later. Bye guys.